How am I eating now? If you've wondered, stick around. We're getting into it right now. Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Manya and I have maintained a 20-pound weight loss for 2.5 years. Today I want to talk about how I'm eating now and do a little what I eat in a day. I haven't done one of these in a while, so as I'm talking, I'll just put up what I'm eating for the day. If you are new here, I lost all of my weight on the WW Purple plan, which unfortunately does not exist anymore. Weight Watchers likes to update their plans every couple of years, which depending on your personality type, you either love or you hate. Now, I've been using Weight Watchers off and on since high school. Normally these changes don't bother me, but I'm going to admit that when they took my beloved Purple plan away, I just couldn't handle it. I loved all the 0-point foods. I really loved that I didn't have to worry about counting every single bite and I still lost weight. And so when they took it away, because of the circumstances in my life at that time and because I'd already reached goal, I just quit. Now, to be fair, the summer that I reached goal, that would have been the summer of 2021, was a rough one for me. My husband of 20 years, on the day I made goal, which I'm not sure he knew, to be fair to him, ended our relationship very abruptly. So that meant that the months after reaching goal was a turmoil transition. It was very stressful. And I lost more than 5 pounds just from grief. Now, I'm not complaining, don't get me wrong, but I got super skinny, way skinnier than I ever was trying to be. I started my journey at 162 pounds. My goal weight was 130 and my lowest weight was 123 pounds. Now fast forward 7 months. In those months, I started dating, opening myself up to new opportunities, and enjoying life in a way that I hadn't done in a long time. I was still doing Weight Watchers, but very, very lightly. And once I met my now husband in January of 2022, I had basically abandoned WW altogether because I had reached goal and I didn't need it anymore, right? Little foreshadowing there. Summer of 2022 was one of the best summers of my entire life, and partly that's because I indulged and I just lived life to its fullest in all ways, if you know what I mean. Now fast forward again, and in May 2023, I quit my career. We moved to Japan. We lived in a hotel for a month, and needless to say, I gained weight back. So this morning, I weighed in at 142.6 pounds. That's 12.6 pounds above my goal. The other thing is, and this has probably happened to a lot of you, is that when I started my WW journey this most recent time, I didn't really know how to pick a goal weight. So like I said, I started at about 162, 163. My goal weight at the beginning was 150. I thought I only had about 12 pounds to lose. That 150 was a weight I'd felt very comfortable at in the past, and I just really thought that that was a good weight for me. But Purple was so good for my body and I was so successful that the weight just kept dropping off. And I blew by 150, so I adjusted my goal weight down to 140. And then I blew past 140. I mean, once I was in that last 10 pounds, it took a lot longer, but I was just loving the way I felt, both with the way I was eating and also the way that my body was changing. And so I lowered it to 130, and 130 felt like the craziest weight ever to me. That just felt so low for how I had been growing up. I was never a skinny person. So 130 felt really skinny to me. So then I reached 130, and I guess that was my goal weight. But like I said, I've never known what an appropriate goal weight for me is. I'm curious, comment below if you are also baffled by figuring out what your goal weight should be. I mean, I guess BMI is the only marker that we have, and I think we all know how flawed BMI is. In January of 2023, so at the beginning of this year, I changed up my exercise routine dramatically. I'd always done a lot of cardio, a lot of walking, running, yoga, and in January 23, I started lifting very heavy weights, progressively gaining on the amount of weight that I was lifting. And I have changed my body composition quite dramatically. I've lowered my fat percentage, and I am stronger than I have ever been. So that also adds on to this confusion about whether 130 pounds is really the goal weight that I should have. A lot of people, when they start lifting heavy like this and changing their body composition, they learn that a higher weight, they actually look thinner than they did before. So all that leads me to say that for me, it was much easier when I was just trying to lose weight, and the number was the only thing I cared about. Because in addition to starting to lift heavy weights and spend more time in the gym, I started down a path that I'm not sure emotionally was working well for me. I spend a lot of time watching videos on YouTube, and that's where I get a lot of my information around health and fitness. And I started obsessing about macros, specifically protein. And everyone says that protein is satiating, that if you want to feel full and satisfied, you need to eat a lot of protein. So I started eating up to 150 grams of protein a day. But I was reminded by my body that the thing that satisfies me and fills me up are actually whole carbohydrates. Things like potatoes and rice and oatmeal. And protein, frankly, just didn't do it. And of course, I was supplementing. Oh, hold on. I happen to be sitting right next to my pantry. So I was supplementing with protein powders and protein bars, and just really trying to get in as much protein as possible, which was leading me down some paths of not eating as many fruits and vegetables because they would be high in carbohydrates, for example. So I ended up being hungry all the time because I was spending all this time in the gym, and I was under eating what my body found the most nourishing. I was also obsessively tracking in an app called Chronometer, where everything was being weighed in grams. When I would put together a recipe, every ingredient would be weighed in grams, and then I had to weigh out the final to make sure that I was getting exactly what I was putting in the app. I even had a fight with my husband once because he didn't weigh a certain ingredient before he put it in the recipe. And then when I would go out, it would all fall apart because I couldn't weigh things in grams. And I'm living in a foreign country. I'm traveling, I'm making friends, and the fact that I couldn't control it all was causing me a lot of anxiety. And at the same time, because I couldn't control it all and I couldn't be as strict as I was telling myself I could be, I was gaining weight. But I'm here to admit to you all that what at one point felt so certain, to me now feels pretty uncertain. I know that a lot of people think losing weight is the hardest part, but I think those people have never actually lost a bunch of weight. To me, maintenance is so much harder than losing weight, especially if you're a goal-driven person like me. It's easier to have a goal to drive towards. And then when that goal is achieved, well, then what? Well, the answer is then you add a couple of hundred calories back every day and you do this for the rest of your life. That's hard and it's demoralizing. So it essentially means I never ever get to stop doing this. I never get to relax again and just enjoy my food. And I think for those of us who gain weight fairly easily, that's the case. If you want to look the way you want to look for the rest of your life, you never get to stop. And that can be really hard emotionally to deal with. So in between the people visiting us here in Japan, all the travel, lunches out with other expats, and parties with different expats, I kept saying that I would get back into it and I would be strict this time. This time I would be strict. Calories, macros, prioritizing protein. But at the end of the day, a few days into this, I just didn't want to do it. I was incredibly fatigued. And I don't love all that processed, low calorie, high protein powders and stuff. I think they have a place, but I was, doing 2 protein shakes and a bar every day. For me, I don't think that's sustainable, and it doesn't make my body feel good. And I felt, like I said, that I was denying myself the one way to eat that I know keeps me satisfied and makes my body happy. After eating a whole food plant-based meal that's heavy on the whole carbohydrates and the vegetables, I feel good. Now, the change for me is that I have gone back to eating lean proteins like fish and chicken, and I'm not going to go back at this point. It's possible to be vegan in Japan, but again, it would bring out, I think, that disordered eating in me. It's just too hard. So I have signed up for an app called Healthi. That's Healthy with an I instead of a Y. I'll put a link in the description box below. A lot of people use Healthi as an alternative to WW because it's cheaper and because you can tweak the settings to make it WW Purple friendly. The plan that I follow is called Better Balance. It is the one that emphasizes whole, unprocessed foods and has a list of hundreds of 0-point foods, mostly fruits and vegetables and lean protein like chicken, like fish, eggs, and non-fat dairy. It's not purple exactly. I have to spend what they call bites on oatmeal, potatoes, and you'll see that, you've seen that already in this video, that I'm still incorporating those things in my diet, but I find it's easier because they actually compensate me with extra bites, if you will, every single day. So the lesson for me in all of this, having gained back some of the weight that I've lost, is that trying to follow the fad that's out there, protein-centered, protein and everything, hundreds of grams of protein every day, for some people might work, but for me, I found it unsatisfying and it really fueled up some disordered eating stuff in me. Having to literally count every single bite in grams just made me feel a little crazy. I'm also, and this is a work in progress, trying to figure out if I need to lose those 12.6 pounds, if my body is fine the way that it is. I look at pictures of myself and I like the way that I look, and then I certainly am married to someone who loves my body. There is no doubt. And so this is all up here for me. I think it's when you're overweight, it's very clear that you need to lose weight. When you're as close to goal as I am, things become a lot less clear. And I've started to wonder about this arbitrary number that I picked out of nowhere simply because it was good and I was headed that direction. So I'm a work in progress. You are a work in progress. Just remember, we are so hard on ourselves, and I'd like us here, as we always do, to make a commitment to work on this together. So my request of you is in the comments below. Do me a favor and put something that you're going to work on around your body, around food, this week, this month, and let's do this together. And as always, thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.